I was in math, and then we heard what it sounded like, girls screaming. The fire alarm rang. One of my social studies teachers blocked traffic across Pierce to get us across to Leawood. And we were there for what seemed like an eternity. And then chaos kind of erupted. One of my best friends came out and said, Mandy, we have to go. They're shooting. And I said, who's shooting? And there was a lot of rumors that they were on the roof. By that time, news helicopters had come. And there was a rumor, they're shooting at the helicopters. Like, it went crazy. So then that was the time when we saw some staff members. And like Zach, I was very concerned about my math test. And so she said, you need to go to a safe place. And we're like, what does that mean? She said, find a house, go to a house. And so we essentially kind of got permission to go. Well, somebody said, hey, go to so-and-so's house, his dad's a cop. So I just followed this group of kids. I bet there was 50 of us. We got on there were a couple people who had cell phones, but this lady's house, she gave the phone to different people, and in my head, it didn't occur to me to call anybody. Like, who do I call? So then I was in Young Life at the time, and my Young Life leader happened to be at that house, and he said, Mandy, you need to call your mom. My mom was at King Carl. She was a teacher, and I couldn't get a hold of her because they were out lockdown, apparently, and now, years later, I was the first one to get a hold of her. And so everybody that called my mom, like family members, knew I was safe. I don't know, for some reason, I had this instinct that my dad would come and get me. So this kid's brother said, hey, does anybody need a ride to Leawood? And I said, I do. Like, I know my dad's gonna be there. My dad worked at the King Soopers down the street. We went to Leawood, and it was, of course, chaos. And it was kind of surreal. My friends that I just left were in science, and I knew them, that they were in science. Their parents were there. Well, unfortunately, they didn't get out hours later. My dad found me, and I was wearing a dress that day because it was a track day, and we always dressed up for sports, and he wouldn't let go. And as a parent now, it's hard to realize what my dad went through that day. And I didn't think anything of it until I became a parent. And how my parents must have felt that day. And years later, I went to both of my parents and said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry the way I acted. Because now I get it. Now I get it. And same, it's surreal. You don't know where you are, what you're doing, and you go home and you just live through it and try to get through it as much as you can. And it didn't affect me as much as it has until I became a mom.